Hello, and welcome to this collection of videos explaining different aspects of the Learning Spark Fund. In this particular video, I would like to tell you more about participatory grant making for learning exchanges. Probably the most important thing you need to know and get your head around is that the Learning Spark Fund is not grant making as usual. So let's start with what the fund is not. Applying for a grant is not a competition between organizations to come up with the best proposal based on their competences. It is also not a way to secure funding and deliver programming based on what might be most appealing to a donor. Further, it is not a matter of simply filling in an application, potentially being awarded a grant, and then doing an activity with those funds. So, what is it then? Well, it's all about collaborating and learning. All windows under the Learning Spark Fund, and this includes Community Skyrocket, Spark, and Fireworks, are an invitation to work collaboratively with others to learn about the core theme. It's also about bringing together and learning from a wide range of actors and communities, asking them to share what they know and also what they want to find out. All of this learning is meant to benefit organizations tackling child marriage and to help them improve their programming. So if this interests you, please stay with me to learn more about how it actually works. First, you should know that in order to decide what you want to learn and exchange about and how that exchange will happen, you'll have to work with others on Slack platform. Figure out together what interests you and how you might best learn about that together. And also with whom, meaning who you want to involve in your learning exchange. Second, know that the process of forming the ideas and the members of a learning exchange is a process of self-organizing. So the Learning Spark Fund team will not tell you to work with such a person or organization or to design a learning exchange specifically on a particular topic. But we will rather ask a question, what are you interested in? So once you know the answer to this question, great. Now you can go and propose that to others in Slack and see if they are interested too. And don't limit yourself to just one or two people or the usual suspects who you usually work with. Try to mix it up. Learning Spark Fund encourages you to work across alliances, organizations, and communities, as well as with different stakeholders. This is to include different voices coming from government, researchers, policymakers, practitioners, communities. A new, rich, diverse group of people can make for a really rich learning. Third, don't be discouraged if you are not eligible for a grant or if you weren't awarded a grant. Being a member of an exchange is just as important and rewarding as being the contract holder, or maybe even easier. Make sure you talk with those who are eligible for grants and those who received grants to tell them that you're interested in participating and to explain what you could add to the learning exchange conversations. And once you're there, participate fully. So you can learn from others and share your own learnings. So how exactly are you supposed to make these connections online in our Slack space? How can you find others with whom to collaborate on preparing a proposal and hosting or participating in a learning exchange? Well, once you are in our Slack virtual open space, you can be proactive. Raise ideas for learning exchange, or you can be responsive to what others propose, although a bit of both is likely. So there are lots of ways to start a conversation, and I'll try to give you a few examples based on the Community Skyrocket window, which is currently open, and ask people and organizations to collaborate at the country level and around community knowledge that addresses the linkages between adolescent female sexuality and child marriage. So, for example, you could pitch a topic or issue and see who bites. Here is how it could look like on Slack. You could write something like, is anyone else interested in the issue of backlash and resistance to norm change in communities? We would like to convert the community response into tips and tricks for programs. We are not eligible to hold a grant, but could bring a lot to an exchange. Anyone else for this topic? Or you could also pitch a more developed approach and see what others can contribute. So here's an example how that could look on the Slack platform. We are willing to host a learning exchange on the use of positive deviance in addressing the sexuality and child marriage link. Our approach is to identify case study examples from around the country. Speak to community members involved or influenced by positive deviance and see what we can learn for our programs. Are you interested in positive deviance as a change strategy? What community cases can you access? Finally, you could also start a conversation and trigger ideas by saying what you can contribute to an exchange. So one example could be, we have good access to urban communities. If any exchange want to bring in this perspective and context, let us know. Or maybe you could say, we have figured out some good ways to have community conversations via cell phone. If anyone wants to use this approach for participatory conversations virtually, we could bring what we know to that team. So great, now that you know the basics about the Learning Spark Fund, we hope you're ready to start engaging on the platform, connecting with others, and finding great ideas and partners to propose for your learning exchanges. Remember that the Community Skyrocket window is open now until July 10th, while the Spark and Firework windows will open shortly, so stay tuned to not miss the new grant windows. And one more important point to keep in mind about the Learning Spark Fund. Unlike a more conventional grant-making assessment, where donors and back donors make funding decisions, in the Learning Spark Fund, the review of submitted applications and the final decisions of who will receive funding is made by a committee composed of adolescent girls who are change leaders in their communities and country experts in the areas of child marriage and adolescent female sexuality. This approach is a hallmark of the participatory grant-making, whereby those closest to the problem and those likely to be most affected by results of the proposed project get to decide what is funded. So in the case of the Learning Spark Fund, as we operate in 9 countries, we have 18 members of the grants committee who will be deciding about your applications. Thanks for following this video. If you have any questions, you feel free to raise them in our Slack channels. Stay tuned for new information and don't forget to have fun and enjoy networking, learning and exchanging knowledge.